Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Foolin with FOMOBY. Today is June 26th. It's Tuesday. Hope you all had a wonderful Tuesday. I've got Alts Queen and Jared the Dude, Jared the Realtor with me tonight. And we're just going to maybe talk about some indicators that we like to use. Jared, you've got a lot of background noise coming through.
All right, I'll fix it. Sorry.
Okay. And yeah, so we're just going to talk about some trading indicators. Do you guys want to say hi, Queen? Do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Nice to be
Hello,
here.
everybody. How are you?
Awesome. All right. So I guess we'll start with you, Jared. How long have you been trading?
Uh, Not very long. Probably 5 months. No, last October, 8 months.
How's it going for you? Are you feeling positive about things or overwhelmed about anything?
A little of both. Yeah. I mean, I took some profits when I needed to, um, but it cost me a lot to learn to how to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that was profits at that point. But overall, I'm pretty positive about it. I'm sure it'll eventually get back to where it needs to be. I
Jared,
really like to see.
do you
Sorry.
keep any kind of a log of your trade activity or trade journal or anything like that?
Virtual. I'm a mobile trader. I do everything from my phone, which is probably the most unsafe thing I could possibly. It's the most convenient for me.
Yeah. What about you, Queen? Do you keep any kind of a log of your trades? Do you keep a tally or
Yeah.
spreadsheet or anything?
So when I started, I kept everything on a spreadsheet, OCD and everything. I still keep it there, but I love the Delta app. It kind of gives me like real time because my spreadsheet is just my own. I'm not using any program, so I like to have a look there to see how I'm doing. And I have like different portfolios and everything. I think it's a very good app.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. Do you have to like manually enter your trades that you make into that or?
You can, so you have the option to connect it to your exchanges.
Mhm.
So it logs automatically. I'm kind of paranoid with my money. So I know I don't like giving access to an app to my accounts or whatever. So I just log it myself.
Cool. Let me ask you this, Jared. Do you set a target on your sells and on your buys? Do you set targets or do you kind of just watch the market and then go in and market buy?
I like to
Market.
market buy. Once again, I probably shouldn't be doing that. But no, I'll watch the market and see what it does, and I'll set a buy. But when it comes to buying in, I'm a cheapskate unless I really see something that I like, and then I'll just buy the crap out of it.
Cool. And you, Queen, do you tend to set orders or do you market?
I No, I never market buy. I mean, not now. I At the beginning when I didn't know what anything was, I used to. But then I started reading and everything, and then that was when I was just investing, not trading. So right now I never market buy, and I look at a chart. I know where I want my entrance point to be in, and I just put some bets.
Cool. Yeah, somebody got real lucky with their buy orders on waves today. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I
Oh, I have
to-
some crazy buy orders in most all exchanges because I actually got very lucky once with one of them. So
You know,
I right now I have like crazy stuff. And yeah.
I started doing that after, oh shoot, when was it? I think it was like some around this time or maybe next month last year that the Ethereum flash crash happened and it went down like crazy. Like I can't remember what it was. It was like something like a couple dollars or something, $10 or something like that. But yeah, ever since that, I've always had some outlandish buy orders waiting for some freak accident to happen. So,
Yes.
Queen, we talked last week about Bitcoin market sentiment. Are you still feeling bearish?
Yeah, sorry. I actually, I mean,
Don't
I
apologize.
I know, it's just everybody hates me when I talk about it. But I mean, I did have one of my friends actually reach out to me and ask me about crypto. And he's like a big name in the financial sector. So that was a surprise, and that made me a little bit more bullish. But I don't think he's ready to go in yet. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see any. I don't see any stability. Any like everybody. I mean, not everybody's depressed yet, which is kind of what I go for a little. Not yet. I'm definitely not starting anything right now. I think it can go up and it can go down. I would never open a position at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty wise. I just continue averaging down because started buying at a bad spot. But if it does go up, I'm happy with that. If it does go down, all the same. But
Mm.
I just I feel like if I was in the position of somebody with a lot of money and wanting to jump in, um, I don't know that I would be waiting for cheaper prices to get involved. I think I'd go ahead and do it, and maybe just move the term of my trade out however long it takes to get back up.
Mm.
But then again, being in my current position, having
To wait.
Bitcoin, I don't want to sell it down here and then hope to
Yeah.
buy back lower. Um, I would feel like I'd be selling it to somebody real cheap, and then we get a good bounce, and I'm having to buy in higher.
No,
All right.
that's good. I had a friend ask me actually if he should start shorting right now. I told him no way, not now.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. I
crazy.
think
You want to sell
short.
me your coins? Don't. No. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have. I mean, I did get out in December, so I still have some money to get in. So I'm waiting, being patient.
You could be
I bought on
being
every
very.
dip though. I have been buying on every single dip. So right now I'm like, screw it. I'm not buying until this is a real bottom.
Um. What was I about to ask? Oh crud! I was about to ask something. Now I forgot. Anyways, we'll move on. Indicators. You guys, Jared, what kind of indicators do you like to use? What are you looking for on the chart to 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 give you the indication of whether or not to buy or sell?
Well, I use the hammers, and then I don't know. Like I said before, I used to. I haven't been trading a ton lately in this market, but I just kind of go with the trends, unfortunately. But I will look at a chart, and I mean, I can understand, the daily average and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I look at. I mean, if I think it's kind of a guessing game too. I mean, if I feel it, I'm gonna buy it. If I feel I'm gonna sell it.
Cool. And Queen, what are some indicators you like to use?
Well, I try to. I'm still learning a lot. And more, I try to do one indicator per week. Sometimes it's not doable, and I don't. But I mean, I have a few that I really like. I like to look at the trend of how everything's going. I do my own horizontal not vertical, angled lines and all of that, and I see where I want my position, and then I look at MACD. I like Iki. Sorry, I've been reading from a book, so Ikimoku.
Ikimoku Cloud.
In Spanish we say Ichi, so it's kind of like and I like to look at them together because they give me like two different things about the trend. And I always look at the volume, although sometimes it can be a bit deceptive.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So I'm gonna share my screen. You about to say something, Queen?
No.
I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going here. This is Trading View. currently 1-day time frames for Bitcoin. I'm going to go to the weekly, and down here these bars are the volume.
Okay.
So I just want to show you guys that's where our volume is going, and if I kind of stick to the bulk of the body of these volume candles, we're somewhere down in there. That is that's pretty lackluster as far as the volume is going. We have positive news, like I think yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, we had 250 million tether get printed. So somewhere somebody's got 250 million tether, whether it be one person or a bunch. I'm sure it's a multitude of people, but you can surmise that that's 250 million dollars worth of tether is not going in and market buying Bitcoin, because we don't see any kind of a pop in the price action here. So what are they waiting for? Are they waiting for it to get down even lower? Maybe the $4,500 level, or even lower than that. We don't know. But
35.
to me, that's kind of alarming. We have somebody that's got all this tether waiting, whether already be in buy orders at certain levels, or they're waiting for the opportunity to market buy it, which I highly doubt. But that money is out there, and they're doing, they're sitting on the sidelines with it, because we don't see it entering. That's something to certainly be weary of. And we have this descending volume that's basically almost nothing at this point. And when it does come through, we're getting sell volume. I think we've had one of these days that were or weeks that were above that trend line for bullish, but other than that, it's been all bad. So,
Sorry, real quick. So when that tether does come in, we would notice something, right?
no, not
I mean,
necessarily.
No.
It could be very,
No,
they
very
because
slowly buy it.
yeah. They could be coming in real slow with it. You may not notice at all. Whereas maybe sometimes last year we would have a tether print and the price would bounce $1,000. One
Right.
way or the other. Most of the time it was bullish going towards the end of last year, but uh, yeah. So that's just something to keep your eye out for. We've had weekly candles that do something like, what is that, $2,000, $3,000 in a single weekly candle. That sort of thing can happen if that volume returns, but right now it's just not there. So we're kind of having a strike. The bulls are kind of striking right now. We don't have any buy pressure. Everything's been sell pressure uh, for the majority for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 months basically. And that kind of puts us in an oversold. Oh, sorry, hold on. It kind of puts us in an oversold uh, position. Let's see here if I can get. Uh, this is stochastic RSI. So this indicator will oscillate between the top of its range, which is overbought position, to the bottom, which is oversold position. And you can see we're pretty close to that bottom right now and being oversold. So I like to use the stochastic RSI on the smaller time frames. I think it's a little bit more, it's a little less hit and miss as opposed to on the larger time frames. But you can see how that pretty well lines up with the end of the bull run. We're up here pretty high, being oversold or overbought, and then at the very bottom where we hit 6,000, we're really oversold. So if you just traded based off the top and bottom of that RSI, you'd have done pretty good. But that's kind of hindsight, because you don't know at this point. You don't know that we're not going to keep going up to there, and at this point, you don't know that we're necessarily done with price action going down here. So that could stay bottomed out for quite a while. And you see that more on the smaller time frames. Like if we went to the 15-minute,
So you're saying that'd be more reliable than as an indicator to look at?
in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
FOMOBY, do you trade on the 15 minutes?
I do and I don't. I try not to, but sometimes I get bored, and I'm like,
Oh,
well,
okay.
I could make $50 if I sit here and do this for a little while.
I used to look at like smaller time frames. I felt like it was
It's
giving me better
it's really not worth it.
information, and it's really not good. I mean, unless you're Fedacone, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
For
No,
me,
that's
that
that's the thing. For you
wrecked
to
me
be
badly.
doing it and to be profitable, in my opinion, you have to be sitting in front of the computer watching the chart eight
All the
hours a
time.
day, and I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. I've got other projects and things that I feel like my time is better utilized to do that. But there are points where I'm like, I'm bored. I'm gonna jump on here and see where we're at, and I might see something like this, and like, I'm gonna buy some.
I mean,
And
something that people have to understand is that daily traders have studied for so many years this thing.
yep,
And
yep.
people try to do it with like 15 minutes a day for a week. Like,
This
don't get on max for that, people. Like, don't.
I've been wrecked from that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, just you got to think that somebody on the other side of the the trade has way more experience than you. They have
Exactly.
more
It's people that
resources.
have, yeah, they've gone to school for this for years and then they kept studying, they work on it, they've been wrecked 1,000 times. You're not in the same league. Don't do it.
I like the experience.
You like the experience. It's about the
Learning from it.
adrenaline rush for you.
Yeah, no, I like to gamble. So when I started
Oh,
trading, I would trade at the 5 minute.
but you know it's a gamble.
Oh, of course, but
You're aware.
I made money. But
Okay.
at the same time, I lost probably more than I made. So, yes, I lose again.
Okay, sorry for my way. Keep going.
You guys are good. It's good dialogue. Let's switch it up and let's go to let's look at a moving average. Actually, you know what? We'll do MACD because you mentioned you like that one, correct, Queen?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this indicator because I don't use it a whole lot other than I'll notice these oscillations and I'll see it
Right.
maybe coming to the end of a bottom and then it goes back bottom, back to the downside, or it goes really high to the upside. How do I know it's not going to keep going up here and it's going to oscillate back down? How are you using this indicator?
I mean, you never know that it's not gonna keep going.
You
That's the
just
thing. That's why I like to use it with Ikimoku Cloud also, because it shows the same, more or less the same patterns of reverse trend, I guess. So, I mean, you just have to look for like crossovers to see, like, if the MACD falls below the signal line, it's a bearish signal, so it may be time to think about selling. You also have to look at divergence. It's just, you have to, it basically gives you a little bit of information about whether a trend is reversing or not. So, I mean, basically you have these three lines, okay? They're telling you different things, but when they're all moving towards up, that means the trend may be changing. So you can see, for example, in January, how everything's going down, and you see then, well, I mean, you can also see if it's bottom down or not. I mean, I don't know. You have to look at it basically with the volume also, always.
in conjunction with other indicators.
And yeah, and it helps to use it with other indicators because by itself it doesn't, it can be lying to you, let's say. And I like to look at it in the daily, even in the weekly. I mean, sometimes, like you say, sometimes I go and look at it for like 30 and 15 minutes, but I try to trade on larger time frames because it's a trend. So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
And
What
we
was
can
the
go
other
into
one?
more detail then. I don't want to bore anyone.
That's pretty good. I like to keep it basic because that's where I like to think that our audience is. Okay, so this is your Ichimoku cloud, Ikimoku, however you want to pronounce it, cloud. It's not very clear on my chart here. I'm going to see if I can clean it up by getting rid of some of these lines. Okay. I don't know if how well you guys can see that. Are you using this on a larger time frames also?
Yeah, one day. One day is good. I like it on the 1 day.
Okay, stick to that then. But I'm going to zoom us in over the past couple months. That way we can really see the lines here. I don't know if everybody can see that. I really can't see it that well.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can see it.
So basically, first, look at whether the prices are above, below, or in the cloud, right? So the trend is going up or is up when prices are above the cloud, is down when the prices are below the cloud, and it's flat when they're in the cloud, right?
Okay.
You can see where the prices are.
So is this right in here? Is this the cloud then, and then it goes red over here, or is this all within the cloud?
So the green cloud line, that's leading span A, okay? If that's rising above the leading span B, which is the red cloud line that you can see there, that produces a green cloud, okay? If it's the opposite and you have a revert, then you have a red cloud, okay?
So
that signifies also, I mean, you can, for example, this red cloud here that you see, that's like a future resistance at the end. That signifies future resistance. Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean,
if we were to pop up in here, we would likely
that signifies yeah, some action. Yeah, exactly. They'll probably go blue, and you can see it here, for example. Here it's green, right, instead of red. In that area, and you're seeing the red because also you're seeing far from the prices, so you're seeing the red area, which would be the resistance, and that's kind of signifying that it's going up. If you see it with MACD, actually you can see how it's very similar how they both react to the trends. So if both are on the same page, that means it gives you more information about the accuracy of the trend change, let's say.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that one's a little bit out there for me. I might have to do some studying on that.
I am too. I like that one though.
It's very graphic. Once you understand what every line means and what it means to have a cross, it's very graphic, and with MACD and the volume, I really like it for identifying the trend changes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of a visual guy too, so that helps, as opposed to drawing imaginary lines. I can see where that.
And then you draw your lines, and then you make your decision. I always draw my lines, and I do like different colors, which I know drives some people crazy. But I want to know where I am when I go to the smaller frames and what is what. So
I don't draw lines because I never know where to start my lines.
well, you have to look for resistances, and the more you have in that line, the stronger that resistance is. So you look at dips.
But over what time frame, I guess?
Let's see. Over I draw my lines on the daily or even in the weekly sometimes. And then I go, that's why I draw my lines there, and then I go to the smaller time frames to do the to the side.
Cool. Okay, so I put up the moving average, just basic moving average, and from what I understand, this one it's just a simple average of the daily price action. Is that what you understand it to be?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when I'm looking at this, and we'll go back to a bullish scenario too. Here we were extended over that moving average quite clearly, and
For a long time.
for a long time, for a long period, almost well, a full month we were extended over it. Really, we didn't. There was a couple times we kind of crossed it with some of these wicks here, but then went right back up. And to me, looking at this line and seeing how extended we've been over it, maybe seeing this wick and then pull back and that double top, that was a pretty good indicator maybe to sell.
Yeah.
And for the bearish case, same thing. We were screaming downhill right here, way far away from this moving average. Maybe that's a very, very good sign to buy.
Yeah.
Same thing
Sure.
through each one of these little rises and falls. That one, I like the moving average. It's pretty simple to understand what's going on with it, how it's coming up with that line, and then making a determination. The only thing that kind of throws me off is where we had this big, long period of time that we were up above it. I mean, even in here, you could have said, "Well, we've been running for forever. This is a good spot to sell," and you still had,
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's some false indicators too, right there. On the left, right in December, right before we hit the peak. I mean,
that's why you want to look at it with something else.
For sure.
You've got to be doing this in conjunction with other things, and when it gets this crazy up here, where we're moving thousands and thousands of dollars in a day, there's nothing wrong with taking profit here and sitting on the sidelines for a little while, because look what happened. We came back out, but if you had done it down here, you might be regretting that to some degree. It's certainly something you've got to use in conjunction with other things. Does anybody notice this in the volume right here? This little trough of complete inactivity, and this is clearly distribution cycle of the market. I think that's pretty interesting. And then we kind of came back on our volume when we got down in this area again. Well, even before that, we had a lot of sell volume. But I think that's interesting how much volume dropped off between late December and early March. Interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's try and stay focused here. Let's do exponential moving average. So, I'm not wholly familiar with this one either, but from what I understand, it's taking the more recent the price action. It's weighted heavier than price action back here to play into that moving average. Is that what you guys understand it to be?
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, we can kind of see the same thing. It's just a simple moving average. You get extended to the downside below that average, and we pop back up. Same goes for the bullish case. We get way extended above it, and we kind of have some. Here, it's not quite
so.
So
I read on this. It was one of the first ones that I read on, and I actually did some bad trading on it because I was reading from a book and I didn't understand some of it. So from then on, I tried to use it always with MACD because it kind of I don't know. This one screwed me over a little, so I don't like it too much. But it was because I didn't know what I was doing.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the case for any of these. You're gonna have to get in there and practice just like anything else. I think I've said that before. You,
Research is definitely the key.
you, you learn the hard way, and you typically learn once, right? I mean, that's how it works for me. If I do something stupid, that's gonna be stuck in my mind. I'll be like, okay, I can't do it like that anymore. I'll find a different approach.
I
But
think, yeah, this works very good for day traders, EMA, but I don't know. I'm not a fan, but it's a personal opinion.
uh, yeah, I agree with that. Those guys, they're doing it all day long, every day, and they've been doing it for a while. Whereas I
Mhm.
can only say I've been doing this for a year, so it takes time to learn it. The I noticed for one thing is certain: the further I get into trading, the more time I take setting up a trade before I do it. Like when I got started, I did a lot of what you said you did, Jared. I would go in and just market buy and market sell, thinking I was smart, and I got burned on that multiple times. So
Yep.
um, the further I go along, the more time I'm sitting there looking at charts before I make a move. I would
Mm.
rather miss a move and uh, not make anything than lose money.
And recently, that's kind of how I've been feeling. I've missed a couple of those. I could have made a little bit of money, but at the same time, if I would have bought when I was thinking about buying, I would be at a loss right now. So it
Here
all
here's
works.
an here's another thing. This is a new asset class, and even though things like Bitcoin have pretty decent liquidity, they still do crazy weird shit like what we saw back in December.
Oh yeah,
That you don't see that typically on traditional financial markets. Um, I guess maybe if you were someone that plays penny stocks, you might see something like that here and there, but that's
Mm.
a whole different ball game in itself because it's not a revolutionary technology, which I think we're all in agreement. That's what we're looking at with Bitcoin, and
absolutely. I
a lot
think
of
we're
these
still
others.
super early.
Yeah. All right, I'm burnout of indicators. I
Mm.
did want to touch on these Heiken-Ashi candles. So you have
Yeah.
these typical candles which we've all been looking at throughout these episodes, and then shout out to Josh McGruff at Josh McGruff on Twitter. He turned me on to these, and they're pretty interesting. I'm gonna pull up what I was reading because I don't have it memorized yet. So the way that these candlesticks work is they don't necessarily show you like on a here. Let's zoom in. Like on a bullish candle, this price 60 64 84 85, that may have not actually been the time frames open. The way
Mm-hmm.
that they calculate the open is it's the open of the previous bar plus the open uh, the plus the close of the previous bar divided by 2, so it's like an average. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see that's actually pretty close. I don't know how well you guys can see that dotted line. It's pretty close to the middle
Yeah.
of, so it's taking an average. And same goes for well, no, not the same goes to the close. The close is the open plus the high plus the low plus the close divided by 4.
Whoa.
So a little bit
Nice.
trickier in determining how they, set that open and close of the body. Um, and then the wicks are kind of a whole nother thing too. But this is what I was reading on it, and it was really stuck out to me. Um, Hollow or green candles with no lower shadows. So the wick, what we would normally call a wick, is your shadow. Hollow or green candles with no lower shadows indicate a strong uptrend. So let your profits ride, even though We didn't really come up too much more, but maybe that's more for like a longer term bull trend. Um, and then hollow or green candles signify an uptrend. Obviously, that's holds true. Um, and then candles with a small body surrounded by upper and lower shadows indicate a trend change. So we can kind of see that here. We got upper and lower shadow, small body. Um, well, we had a small body there in upper and lower shadows, but we didn't really get any kind of a reversal there. Let's see. Filled or red candles indicate a downtrend. You might want to add to your short position, exit longs. And then filled or red candles with no higher shadows identify a strong downtrend. So this is a filled red candle, and we didn't have very much upper shadow. Same thing here, same thing here. Indicate a strong downtrend, and even at the end of this, you can kind of see that happening, even though we've had these candles with smaller bodies. So I just think this is another tool for people to use in conjunction with everything else, as we've said.
Yeah, what's that one called?
Heiken-Ashi.
Heiken-Ashi.
Heikin. Ashi, Ashi.
Okay.
Definitely interesting though, and it's something I'm going to be spending some more time learning.
Well, it seems like all the rules they presented hold fairly true.
Yeah, yes and no.
Well, right. I mean, obviously that one.
We can see where it's not true, and we can't see where it's definitely true.
Sure.
But if you were using this and then going like, okay, let's say this is on the 23rd, right? And then you're going back to your typical candles. Where's the 23rds? We had a green candle there. It's a little bit confusing. But maybe if you were using that in conjunction with other things, like you saw,
so you can set trend lines and all that on that other one, right?
Yes, that's correct. But I don't know.
Perfect.
I don't know the value in doing that. I think maybe the value's more in the way the candles are set up than doing trend lines.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe the body of the candles on these are more are better to use for a trend line. I don't really know. I haven't spent much time. Like I said, I just started learning about these. So and you know, when you set a trend line, you want to use the body of the candles. You don't want to use the wicks. Yeah, that looks actually pretty good. Let's go to a daily. So maybe these having, you know, the averaged out bodies of the candles, maybe that's a little bit more legitimate to set your trend lines with. I'm not really sure. I'll just have to play with it. But I wanted to show it to you guys because I thought it was interesting. I never tried messing with the types of candles that we had. So that is all I've got for tonight. Do you guys have any other questions or anything you want to talk about, Jared, Queen?
No, I'm good. Very informative tonight.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna check my YouTube and see if we got any questions in there. Just bear with me a second. Okay, Trogdor asks why I like using stochastic RSI versus RSI. Trogdor, I just like using it for the lower time frames, like the 15-minute, if I'm looking for to pinpoint an entry or an exit, and I like to use it because it is based off of the RSI. I just feel like it's a little bit more. I feel like it's more reliable, and I've seen that throughout time for pinpointing an entry or an exit. Let's see here. That looks like it for the questions. All right, Jared, tell me, are you bullish or bearish right now?
Bearish.
Bearish. Okay. Well, we know Queen's stance. She's bearish
For now.
for now.
I'll be bullish, I promise.
That could change in a day, right? Like, let's hurry up and just capitulate and get it over with, so you can go back to being bullish.
Can I be
Yes.
a
I
bull
just
and
wanted
bears
to die.
clone?
I
What was it?
hate bearish me. I really, it's so boring, honestly.
You hate bearish. Sure.
It's boring and annoying, and crypto Twitter lately is so boring. No one talks about anything. Everyone's depressed and everyone's like creating drama, and I can't handle it. Just let a little bit of bull run just so that we can get our hopes back up.
Yeah, it's certainly claiming some people. I think
Morale's down.
if I go back to when I started really like getting onto crypto Twitter towards the end of last year, it's it's really changed for sure, and I don't know if that's just because of the way I've kind of integrated into the community, or if it's due to the market, but maybe a combination of the both. Anyways, I appreciate you guys being on here. We couldn't get Yuki tonight and Goddess because they had prior commitments. I think he's working on a really cool interview that he recorded last night. He's editing that up, so we missed them. But I appreciate you guys hopping on here and
Yep, thanks for having me.
helping me learn, and everybody that was in the YouTube learn. That's it. That's all I've got. You guys have a good night, and we'll see everybody again next week.
Awesome.
You too. See you next week. Bye.
Thanks.
All right. Adios.